Let's get right into it. Number 10. The never dull razor blade. Imagine inventing something so good that no one wants to sell it. That's exactly what happened with ceramic razor blades. It was like these things were indestructible. They could stay sharp for years. They used synthetic sapphire or ceramic instead of metal. These materials are so hard, they can keep their edge for what feels like forever. One company claimed their blade could give you 1,000 perfect shaves. That's about 3 years of daily shaving. The big razor companies weren't exactly thrilled about this invention. They make their money using something called the razor blade business model. Give away the razor cheap, then make bank on the blades. Gillette basically invented this way of doing business. They're not selling you a razor. They're signing you up for a lifetime subscription to blades. It's why printer ink costs more than vintage wine. So when someone came along with a blade that never gets dull, nobody in the industry wanted to touch it. The ceramic blade companies tried selling directly to customers, but there was a problem. These forever sharp blades were expensive up front. Most people couldn't get past the sticker shock, even though it would save them money in the long run. It's like trying to convince someone to buy a $500 pair of boots that'll last 10 years instead of a $50 pair they'll replace every year. So these super blades just disappeared. Meanwhile, we're all still buying disposable blades that go dull faster than we'd like, and the razor companies are laughing all the way to the bank. Number 9. The vampire phone battery. Remember those old Nokia phones? The ones that could survive a nuclear blast and still have 80% battery left. Turns out being too good at something can be bad for business. Back in the early 2000s, Nokia made phones with batteries that just wouldn't die. You could go weeks without charging these things. It was like they were powered by some immortal energy source. When your phone battery lasts forever, you're not rushing to buy a new one. And all those fancy battery packs and portable chargers, nobody needed those either. It's like selling immortality pills. Great for the customer, terrible for repeat business. Fast forward to today, and our phones are more power hungry than a teenager after soccer practice. Your brand new smartphone can't make it through dinner without needing a charge. Companies have features that run in the background, slowly sucking your battery dry, like Wi-Fi Assist on iPhones. It's supposedly helping you get better internet, but it's really just making your battery die faster than a red shirt in Star Trek. When your battery dies quickly, you buy portable chargers, wall chargers, car chargers, and emergency chargers. They turned battery inefficiency into a billion-dollar industry. Your phone dying in the middle of the day isn't a bug, it's a feature. Those old Nokia batteries didn't fail the market. They just worked too well for capitalism. Number 8. The no-fade marker. Imagine creating something so perfect that it becomes completely useless. That's exactly what happened with the no-fade marker back in the early 90s. This marker was engineered to be the ultimate permanent marker. The ink was designed to last longer than whatever you wrote on, but the company accidentally created an ink that was too permanent. Survive the apocalypse permanent. If you made a mistake with this marker, you weren't just stuck with it for days or weeks. You were stuck with it until whatever you wrote on literally fell apart. Imagine coming home to find your expensive leather couch permanently decorated with dinosaurs and spaceships. No amount of cleaning could get rid of them. The company tried marketing it as a feature, the marker that never fades, but people quickly realized that never fades also meant never comes off. Teachers hated it because students couldn't erase their mistakes. Offices banned it because one slip could ruin hundreds of dollars worth of equipment. Even industrial users who wanted permanent markers found it too permanent. You'd write an expiration date on a package, and the package would deteriorate before the ink would fade. They had to pull it from the market, but some government agencies bought up the remaining stock. When you're marking nuclear waste containers that need to stay labeled for thousands of years, a marker that's too permanent is exactly what you need. Number 7. The eternal match. Imagine inventing a match that never burns out. Sounds amazing. That's exactly what a German chemist did back in 1907. His name was Arthur Townsend, and he created what we now call the eternal match. This thing could light over 600 times without wearing out. The match had a special metal tip that would create sparks when struck against any rough surface. No special striking strip needed. Just grab your keys or a rock and instant fire. And unlike regular matches that burn up and die, this one just kept going and going. Matches were big business back then. Match companies were making a fortune selling boxes of one-time use matches. They took one look at this eternal match and thought, this thing could kill our entire industry. So they bought the patent, and then they buried it. But the match companies actually did us a favor by killing this invention. Townsend's eternal match had a fatal flaw. It was basically a tiny flamethrower waiting to happen. That metal tip contained substances that could spontaneously ignite if the match was dropped or bumped too hard. Imagine having one of these in your pocket, when you sit down too quickly, suddenly your pants are on fire and you're doing a very urgent version of the stop, drop, and roll. Number 6. The million-mile engine. Imagine building something so good that it ruins your entire business model. That's exactly what happened with certain diesel engines in the 1980s. These engines were like the vampires of the automotive world. They just wouldn't die. These engines could run for over 1,000,000 miles with just basic maintenance. That's like driving from Earth to the moon and back twice. But these engines were actually too good. Car companies make a lot of their money from repairs and replacement parts. It's like a printer company making most of their cash from ink cartridges. These engines barely needed anything. Just change the oil, maybe adjust a valve here and there, and they'd keep on trucking. Some of these engines are still running today. Car companies looked at this and realized it was terrible for business. If your engine never breaks down, you can't sell people a new one. So they started making engines more efficient. They made them with tighter tolerances and more complex parts that would need regular replacement. They gave their engines an expiration date. Today, if your car hits 200,000 miles, you're doing pretty well. Back then, these diesel workhorses were just getting warmed up at 200,000. They don't make them like they used to, because making things that last forever is bad for business. Number 5. The game that was too good. Imagine making a product so perfect that it actually hurts your entire industry. That's exactly what happened with Stardew Valley, a farming game made by just one guy. This dude spent 4 years making the perfect game, and when it came out, it was basically digital crack. The game had no bugs, tons of content, and regular free updates. It was like getting a 5-star meal for the price of a McDonald's hamburger. But if you're a big game company trying to sell $70 games that are basically just half-finished products with a fancy trailer, this was a problem. Stardew Valley created what marketing people call unrealistic consumer expectations. That's corporate speak for, this guy is making us look bad. Here's a game that costs $15, has hundreds of hours of content, and gets free updates for years. Meanwhile, big companies are trying to sell you $70 games that need another $50 worth of updates just to work properly. Big gaming companies started getting angry comments like, "Why can't you be more like Stardew Valley?" Imagine being a multi-billion-dollar company and getting shown up by one guy working from his bedroom. The game has sold over 20 million copies. This one person made other companies $100 million budgets look like a waste of money. It's basically the video game equivalent of bringing homemade cookies to a bake sale and accidentally putting the whole bakery out of business. Number 4. The Indestructible children's toy. This was the fate of Tonka trucks back in the 70s and 80s. These weren't your average plastic toys that break if you look at them wrong. These things were built like mini tanks, automotive-grade steel bodies and hardened rubber wheels. The company was so confident in their trucks, they literally had an elephant stand on one to prove how tough they were. The truck was fine. The elephant probably needed therapy, but the truck had not a scratch. These trucks were so durable, they started becoming family heirlooms. Kids would grow up, have their own kids, and just pass down the same truck. No one needed to buy a new one when Grandpa's old truck from 1975 still worked perfectly. They made a product so good, no one needed to buy another one. There are stories of them being run over by cars, falling from second-story windows, and even being buried in gardens for years, only to work perfectly after being dug up. It's like they were made from whatever they used to build those black boxes in airplanes. The company eventually started using more plastic parts, not because they wanted to, but because they needed people to actually buy new trucks sometimes. Today, those original metal Tonka trucks are collector's items. People pay hundreds of dollars for them. A toy so well made, it outlived the company's ability to profit from it. Number 3. The cast iron curse. Imagine owning something so good, it actually hurts the company that made it. That's exactly what happened with cast iron cookware. Back in the early 1900s, companies like Wagner and Griswold were making these incredible cast iron pans. These pans were so well made that people are still using them today, over 100 years later. When was the last time you used anything that was made in 1920? These pans were basically immortal. You could drop them, scratch them, burn them, and they'd just laugh it off. In fact, they actually got better with use. Every time you cooked with them, they developed a better non-stick surface. It's like having a pan that ages like fine wine instead of milk. But these companies made their products so well that people never needed to buy new ones. They were so good at their job that they put themselves out of work. These pans became generational hand-me-downs. Your great-grandmother's pan could still be cooking better than anything you'd buy at the store today. Modern companies learned from this mistake. That's why we now have non-stick pans that start peeling after a year. They're designed to fail just slowly enough that you don't get too angry about it. It's called planned obsolescence, and it's why we can't have nice things anymore. Number 2. The Unbreakable Plate. In 1957, Corning made plates that bounced instead of breaking. These plates were made from pyroceram. It was originally designed for missile nose cones, but someone at Corning thought if it works for missiles, It could work for dinner plates, and it worked. You could drop these plates from a 10-story building onto concrete. They wouldn't break. You could heat them to 1300 degrees, then dunk them in ice water. Still wouldn't break. Corning called them Corningware, and at first, they were a massive hit. Everyone wanted these space-age dishes that could survive anything. The company was riding high, until they weren't. These plates were too good. They never broke, never chipped, never needed replacing. Once you bought a set, you were set for life, and your kids' lives, and probably your grandkids' lives too. It's like selling someone immortality and wondering why they never come back for more. The company had accidentally created a product that killed its own market. People who bought these plates in the 1950s are still using them today. The irony is, if these plates had been just a little bit worse, they might have been a bigger success. Number 1. The one-dose cure. Imagine creating a medicine so good it puts you out of business. This was the exact problem for a company called Gilead Sciences back in 2014. They made this drug called Sovaldi that could cure hepatitis C in just 12 weeks. Before this, people with hep C had to take medications for years, sometimes their whole lives, and those treatments didn't even cure them, they just managed the symptoms. But Sovaldi was different. One course of treatment, and you're cured. For good. They made $12.4 billion in the first year alone. The next year, they made $18.1 billion. But then their sales started dropping like a rock. By 2017, they were down to $9.1 billion. The reason is, they were too good at curing people. Once you cure someone, they don't need your medicine anymore. The company's own success was killing its future profits. One Goldman Sachs analyst actually wrote in a report, "Is curing patients a sustainable business model?" The company's stock dropped 50% from its peak. Turns out, the best business model in medicine isn't curing people. It's keeping them just sick enough to need your drugs forever. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.